Yeah, and just real quick too, before we get to those questions,
Yep.
And feel free to type them in. We got a little more time here. But again, I did want to thank all of you for attending today. I want to thank our board of directors, our volunteers, our sponsors, Niagara Conservation, Panasonic Ventilation, Geothermal, GeoComfort, Serve, Build Equinox, Smart Ventilation, T-Stud, Insulated Studs, and Shrinergy for their microgrid solutions. Couldn't do it without them. We couldn't do it without you. To get your continuing ed, make sure to check your email, you check your spam for the certificate that will get sent out at the end. Make sure to take that survey there that pops up. And for those of you watching this in the future on demand, make sure to complete the 10-question quiz with the 80% passing rate.
All right. So I see. Let's see. One question asked, "What's the cost to become a HERS rater?" That's actually a good one. Actually, I don't have that number. There's certainly not a set rate. It depends on the training provider that you go through to take the course. So I'm not sure offhand what that cost is. But if you do you can. I think another one asked about the training centers. You can do a search for RESNET training providers, and many of them advertise as that, and they'll give you all their class offerings. You can also go to the RESNET website, resnet.us, and you can search for training providers there as well. Okay,
Ryan, the other question is, can you just repeat where people can find a list of? Oh, nope, that's the one you just answered. Sorry about that. Will the National Registry be adding search features to find homes in various areas that have ratings?
We currently have one option to search and verify whether or not a home has a HERS rating. It's on our website, and there's basically a public access portion. It is limited in functionality in that you have to search by a specific address, and if that address has a HERS rating, it will pop up and tell you the HERS index score for that home, the HERS rating company, and the year that it was rated. But if it does not have a HERS rating, you will get it will say that it cannot be found.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting about that, we do get many requests for HERS data, and we are actually our board of directors is going to be voting on the next version of our. We've developed a policy, a data sharing policy. There is some sensitivity around sharing our data because it is tied to a specific. It is tied to specific addresses, and we have shared data with, like the study I showed you with NREL. And our primary concern with sharing RESNET data is just that we don't want to provide bulk data that includes all the addresses tied to it. But we do offer some access to the registry. For example, we just launched what's called an appraiser portal. And that allows residential appraiser members of the Appraisal Institute to receive access to the registry in order to verify that a home is HERS rated, and it allows them to search for other homes within within a certain zip code to see how many are HERS rated, and it allows them to produce comparables based on HERS ratings. So we are working on exactly how we use the data that's stored within the registry.
Great. So another question I have is just your thought about preliminary ratings. We know sometimes a lot of projects try to build the project and then figure out what the rating is. Do you see any studies or just anecdotal discussion on the benefits of those projected ratings being done in the design stage rather than trying to figure out what the score is after the fact?
Yeah, I don't know that there's been any big studies on the benefits of doing having that projected rating. The projected ratings are usually pretty good, unless the builder makes a lot of modifications to the home. You can bet that the projected rating is going to come in pretty close to what the final rating would be. And some of the things that may get thrown off, the rater's gonna use some input some value for like envelope leakage and duct leakage. And if by some chance the actual numbers come in vastly different than what the projected numbers were, that could throw off the score. But for the most part, the projected ratings are going to come in close to what your final one is. You can just being able to have the plans and understand the specifications for the home is helpful in doing the rating itself, whether it's all entered into the software before the home is built or after. But doing it before does allow you to work closer, the rater to work closer with the builder to make changes or help them understand the impact of certain materials or construction practices on their HERS rating.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, on existing homes, what are some of the challenges to doing, just basic challenges to doing a good HERS rating on that? Or are there any kind of existing homes, maybe not undergoing renovation, can they use the HERS index rating?
Yes, yeah. So you can absolutely get a HERS rating on an existing home. The process it's a little bit different, than a new home, because the rater can't necessarily see all, how much insulation is behind the walls, and they may not know, what the U values and SHGC values is of windows. So the process is a little bit different. It does take time. They do have to do all the takeoffs and get the conditioned floor area and the conditioned volume. So it does take some time to do that. And if they can't see, some of them will use infrared in order to see, maybe how well the wall is insulated to kind of, generate some assumptions about the construction of the home. But they'll use their kind of best guesses for those areas where they can't actually see behind the walls to know how well it is. But they can do a duct leakage test, they can do an envelope leakage test, and plug those real numbers into the software to see what that HERS index score would be. And then generally the rater's going to provide recommendations on things that homeowner could do in order to improve the score and the energy efficiency of their home.
Mm-hmm. So here's a great question, and I want to tie it into a question that I have, so I'm going to kind of throw a lot here at you. But so the question coming from the audience is, as rating standards are updated, will older ratings become invalid? And then my particular question is, I know that there has been a change been made recently, and I know this because we've got builders who are like, I used to build this way, and I haven't done anything different, and now all of a sudden I'm getting 4 or 5 less points. And so we know that some things have been changed. So I guess my question is, what's going on with older ratings? And also, do we know what will happen in the future? Will it ever change again and kind of get harder as well?
Yeah, good question. So older ratings are certainly still valid. There haven't been significant changes to the HERS index that's going to throw those rating numbers off, grossly. Unless you're talking back like prior to 2006, when the index scale was the opposite of what it is now, where where a 0 was a really bad and a 100 was really good. From 2006 on, you'll find that there's those numbers may vary a little bit from what that number would come out as today, but it's not going to be significant. The jump that you're probably referring to, and the most recent one, which went into effect in January of 2017, is when RESNET required that all software providers be in compliance with Standard 301. And Standard 301 also introduced some changes to how hot water energy use for domestic hot water is calculated. So that was kind of the big change once the software providers all had to be in compliance with that standard 301. That provided a little bit of a bump. But what we don't have, what we do capture in the registry is the version of the software that a home was rated under. So we do capture the software type and what version of the software it was rated under. What we don't have is a kind of a global thing which says this home was rated under, HERS standard 3.1 like Energy Star does. We don't have that type of versioning, and I don't expect that going forward there's going to be any large corrections in the way that HERS scores are calculated.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying it was changes in the water heating that might have impacted things slightly?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The way that the water heating, water energy use is calculated changed. It's called Addendum A to Standard 301, which gets into the details of how it's calculated, and additional data that we had that was where we were able to justify and better calculate the energy consumption from hot water.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about the limitations when you start getting into multifamily and mixed use. For example, I know of a 6-story that just recently went through using the HERS index rating to get LEED certified. I think it was mixed use with one story of retail. But talk to us a little bit about multifamily sizing, mixed use, and centralized versus decentralized, and what can be rated and what can't.
Yeah, so the rating, when you're talking about mixed use or just multifamily in general, the rating's not going to apply to anything that's not residential. When it comes to a mixed-use building, when it comes to multifamily, the rating is going to apply based on individual units, and we do have a sampling protocol which will allow a rater to test 1 in every 7, and there's some nuances as far as whether if one fails or something like that, then they may have to go back and retest others. But the rating itself is for the individual unit, and it will take into account whether there's a central system or just an individual system for that unit. And there's the guidelines that RESNET published on multifamily ratings is on our website, and that's the one I had mentioned earlier. That will be those guidelines are going to be proposed as an amendment to Standard 301, so that it will include how to rate single-family homes as well as multifamily homes in a single standard.
Great, thanks. Well, I'm just trying to see if any other questions are coming in here, but I guess the other question was going back to the registry. Would realtors be able to have any kind of special access to that to do market analysis, or maybe in regards to finding their clients an energy efficient home?
So currently they don't. However, we're working. One of my other projects is working with MLSs and data providers to be able to auto-populate HERS index scores into the MLS. Many of you may be familiar with with greening the MLS, where there are MLSs that have started allowing certain fields, certain green fields, to be entered in manually by the realtor, and that there are some issues with that have popped up. One of the most common ones is an MLS that allows a HERS index score to be entered in by the realtor, and the realtor doesn't know that, is not sure that the home has one, and so they enter 0 in that field, which is a really good HERS index, but not properly entered. So what we'd like to be able to do is auto-populate that, and we're working on developing an API right now that will allow an MLS or what will more commonly be the company that provides all of the data to the MLS they would pull in the HERS information from our registry and be able to auto-populate that in the listing.
Great, thanks. Well, that's all the questions there are on the energy side. However, one of our members here really wants us to bring back up water real quickly, if you have a second.
Yeah, sure.
Well, so we're really excited because we totally see the value in energy performance, and it's obviously, makes a big impact in design decisions. And we're very excited about this direction we're heading with water performance. And we really want to see that be the future, and we want to help make that happen. So so the question coming from one of our members here, it's pretty in-depth, and I don't know how much you can speak to it. But clearly on the water side, you've got in existence right now from our friends at Green Builder Coalition or Green Building Coalition, the WERS index, or the Water Efficiency Rating System. How does HERS's H2O program compare to that, if you can even speak to that at all?
I'll try. So, and I'm familiar with WERS, only kind of surface level, unfortunately. I've gone on to the WERS website. They do provide some information on there, but what I've never had shared with me or never been able to find is the WERS guidelines or technical standard or whatever it is is whatever the document is that says how the WERS score is generated. That's something that I haven't been able to find, which would allow me to better compare. So certainly if someone has that, I'd love to see it. I'm not aware that it's available publicly. The HERS H2O I can speak of. It's based on water use data from the two end uses of water study, and we did not include anything in HERS H2O where we did not feel that we had the data to justify how a specific feature or product impacted the energy consumption. And one of the probably most striking differences at this point is that HERS H2O right now does not incorporate water reuse, either rainwater use or gray water reuse. It does not incorporate that into the standard. During the development of HERS H2O, we could not find enough data to allow us to develop the equations that would calculate or estimate the impact of gray water or rainwater on a home's water use. So we don't include that in HERS H2O right now, version 1.0, I should say, but we are expecting to include that in the future. It's possible that it will be rolled into the ANSI version of that, the ANSI standard, but that's still to be seen. That's probably, at this point, I know that is a difference, but that's probably the main difference that I'm aware of right now.
Mm-hmm. Hey, well, great. Thanks for going over that with us, Ryan. And hopefully when you all launch your HERS H2O pilot, we can help get the word out about that and get people to take a look at it. So, well, real quick before we wrap up, thanks for joining us. And just where can people find more information about the HERS index rating if they want to look for it?
Yeah, you can go to resnet.us. There's also a HERSindex.com that provides additional information on the HERS index.
Great. Well, hey, thanks for your time. Thanks all of you for joining. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Thanks, Brett.